Live. As two teams battled it out in the NFL's biggest night, RMU Live's Morgan Torsha has your thoughts on the big game. And we have the latest update on where presidential candidates stand in New Hampshire next. Welcome back to RMU Live for Monday, February 8th, 2016. I'm Hannah Smith.
And I'm Delaney Hassel. Here's what's happening now.
And we're starting this afternoon off with a breaking news situation in Pittsburgh as a SWAT team has been called to the scene of a Lincoln Leamington home after a construction worker was shot. The victim and two other workers entered the home that they thought was vacant. A man was inside, confronted them, and shot the victim in the hand.
The shooter remains inside the home, which police have surrounded. The victim was taken to a hospital in stable condition. We will continue to monitor the situation throughout the show.
RMU School of Business is once again getting some national recognition. The Department of Accounting and Taxation was ranked 20th in the United States in the 2015 Brigham Young University Research Rankings for publication and leading accounting education journals over the past few years.
With another Super Bowl in the books, RMU Live's own Morgan Torsha went out to see what students thought of Super Bowl 50, the halftime show, and all the commercials.
Last night, the Denver Broncos beat the Carolina Panthers to become the champions of Super Bowl 50. We went around and asked students what their reactions to the game, the players, and all the other elements were.
All right, so what was your reaction to the score last night when the Broncos won?
I thought it was pretty expected that it would be a close game, so I wasn't surprised with it.
Do you think Peyton Manning's going to retire?
I hope so. I mean, at this time, you should retire on a high note instead of going through and just having a terrible season next year. He's lucky that he recovered halfway through the season like he did. So I think this should be his last hurrah and just stop.
Was there anything else about the game that just surprised you overall?
The wide receivers dropping every pass. We were not catching nothing.
Was there anything that you liked about either the game, the halftime show, the commercials, or didn't like?
I mean, the halftime show was pretty exciting. Beyonce and Bruno Mars came out. I'm not a big Coldplay fan, but I think they did well together. I was a little disappointed in some of the commercials. I think the best ones were the Doritos ones, but other than that, I didn't think anyone. And the Prius one was pretty funny, but other than that, I didn't think they were that funny.
Looks like the two big questions are, will Cam Newton be able to recover from this PR nightmare, and will Peyton Manning be on the field next season? Reporting for RMU Live, I'm Morgan Torsha.
Our sports reporter Ben Kalkis will have more on everything football for Super Bowl 50 later in the show.
The joint production of The West Side Story by Lincoln Park Performing Arts Center and the Colonial Theater wrapped up this past weekend. Be sure to look out for the Colonial Theater's production of Romeo and Juliet in April.
The RMU Research and Grants Administration will be holding an expo on March 15th in the Soul Center. The expo will run all day beginning at 8:30 a.m. and includes a panel discussion, speeches, and a one-on-one time with grant writers. Students are invited to submit research abstracts on a topic from their research interest for the poster presentation exhibit that will be displayed at the event. Abstract submission deadline is February 15th.
The Academic Media Center is celebrating one of its own today as AMC director Michael DeLoro earned a Silver Award from the Spotlight Documentary Film Awards for his film La Mia Strada, My Road.
The 4th annual Colonial Chaos will be held on Tuesday, February 16th in the Soul Center and John Jay throughout the day. Sign-ups for the event will be in the cafeteria and Romos throughout this week. The cost is $10 and benefits the Cystic Fibrosis Foundation. Be sure to sign up for your chance to beat men's basketball coach Andy Toole's record of 180 free throws in 6 minutes.
And for everything you need to know about RMU news, sports, and arts and entertainment, be sure to check out rmucenturymedia.com. And coming up on RMU Live, we have the latest update on the New Hampshire primaries and the 2016 presidential race.
And we have an update on the troubles in Syria coming up next.
Here is my handle and here is my spout. When I get all steamed up, then I shout,
tip me over and pour me out. Oh.
The smallest moments can have the biggest impact on a child's life.
Cheers.
Take time to be a dad today.
Oh, look, a redhead.
Staring contest.
You still got it.
I know. Come alive with the forest.
The dad was cute.
They were looking right at us.
Visit discovertheforest.org to find a forest near you.
The average text takes your eyes off the road for nearly 5 seconds.
A 50-year-old woman is in the hospital after jumping from a second-story window after a fire broke out in her home around 11 a.m. Sunday. Fire officials said that she had been working on a craft project when her propane tank somehow ignited. The woman's neighbor came to her aid, but after she jumped from the window, but her name and condition have not yet been released.
Beyonce, who shared the halftime show with Bruno Mars and Coldplay last night in Super Bowl 50, is bringing the Formation Tour to Pittsburgh. Her first stadium headlining run will be held at Heinz Field on May 31st. Tickets are priced from $40 to $250 and go on sale at 10 a.m. on February 22nd. This will be Beyonce's first appearance in Pittsburgh since playing with her former group Destiny's Child. The Formation Tour has 40 dates throughout North America and Europe, beginning on April 27th and running through June.
With the next round of primaries quickly approaching in New Hampshire, Hillary Clinton will have an uphill battle to see if she's able to take the state that she took in 2008. CNN's Scott McCleary reports.
Like a good neighbor, New Hampshire voters are there for Vermont Senator Bernie Sanders. He's holding a substantial lead over Hillary Clinton in the latest CNN poll of polls, 54 to 40%. Down slightly from earlier numbers.
When we began this campaign here in New Hampshire, we were 30 points down in the polls, and she was much better known in this state than I was.
But Clinton is not ready to concede the state she won in 2008.
I know I've got an uphill climb. I'm asking people to really consider this a job interview. Who's ready to do the job on day one? Who can be president and commander-in-chief?
If I came in second, I wouldn't be happy.
That won't likely happen if the polls are correct. Donald Trump leads the GOP field with 31%, more than twice the support of his nearest competitor, Marco Rubio. The next three, Cruz, Kasich, and Bush, are all close. Meanwhile, Marco Rubio is trying to rebound after a lackluster debate performance Saturday night. Governor Chris Christie blasted him for being too scripted and compared his inexperience to President Obama when he first ran for the White House 8 years ago.
That's what Washington, D.C. does. The drive-by shot at the beginning with incorrect and incomplete information, and then the memorized 25-second speech that is exactly what his advisors gave him.
Texas State tomorrow as voting begins.
The Pittsburgh police is asking for help from the public to locate a missing man. 63-year-old Michael Williams went missing from St. Joseph House of Hospitality in the Hill District on February 3rd near the Allegheny County Jail. He has been without necessary medicine since then. Anyone with information on his whereabouts is asked to call the Missing Persons Unit at 412-323-4171.
The United Nations Security Council held an emergency meeting after North Korea launched a satellite into space Sunday. North Korea said that the satellite was for scientific and peaceful purposes, but is being widely viewed by other nations as a front to test for a ballistic missile launch. After the UN meeting, its members said they strongly condemned the launch due to international security circumstances.
Chipotle will be closing all of its stores nationwide for several hours on February 8th to hold a national staff meeting concerning food safety. The restaurant said the meeting would provide an opportunity to thank employees, discuss changes, and answer questions. Chipotle has been under scrutiny lately after suffering from several outbreaks of E. coli, salmonella, and norovirus that infected customers. According to Chipotle spokesperson Chris Arnold, there hasn't been an E. coli breakout in 2 months.
2 people are dead and 4 others are left injured after shots were fired following a Mardi Gras parade in Mississippi. Police have identified the 2 deceased victims as 29-year-old Carlos Bates of Gulfport and 43-year-old Isaiah Major of Pass Christian. An investigation is underway and no suspects have been named. The debate continues on a solution for the troubles in Syria. CNN's Fred Fleiken has more on the unsettlement.
Here in Damascus, the mood among supporters of President Bashar al-Assad is more optimistic than we've seen it probably in the last couple of years. People here are seeing the gains that the Syrian military has been making on almost all fronts of the battlefield, of course, very much backed by Russian air power and pro-Iranian militias as well. And while the United States and also the United Nations continue to say that there can only be a political and never a military solution to this conflict, there clearly are some Assad supporters who believe that indeed there could be a military solution in their favor. They believe that if the Syrian military continues to make gains, especially around Aleppo in the north of the country, they could deal the rebels a decisive blow and therefore then cement their power. Of course, there are still many question marks. How solid are the gains that the Syrian army and its backers have made? Are they fragile or can they hold? And also, could some other country still intervene here in the conflict on the part of the rebels? So while there are still many question marks, certainly the mood that we're seeing, the amount of people who are on the street, who are coming out, indicates that the Syrian government believes that at this point in time, it is winning. Fred Pleitgen, CNN, Damascus.
We will continue to follow the latest developments in Syria in the coming weeks. Well, on a brighter side of things, we had a really big night in football.
Oh yes, did you watch the Super Bowl, Hannah?
I was able to watch bits and pieces of it. I was at work and had to actually work on stuff with it, but what did you think of it?
I thought it wasn't a bad game, but you know who will have more on that? Our very own Ben Kelkis. What do you have for us, Ben?
This is the good stuff. The NFL season wrapped up last night for the 50th Super Bowl. More on that after the break.
Looking for these? You drive buzzed. It could be one very expensive ride.
First, you gotta make bail. Then pay me to get your car back.
Your insurance premiums will go through the roof.
And my legal fees just keep adding up. All told, it could end up costing you $10,000.
Buzzed, busted, and broke. Because buzz driving is drunk driving.
There's a shelter pet who wants to meet you. Meet one today. Visit theshelterpetproject.org. Adopt.
To Maddie, congrats on paying off all those student loans.
Finally, right?
How'd you manage that anyway?
I started tracking my spending, changed a couple of habits.
Wow, I'm kind of living paycheck to paycheck right now. I don't even know how I'm doing it.
Well, have you tried saving a little?
I want to, but where's that money gonna come from? Bill collectors, they're the worst. Am I right?
When it comes to financial stability, don't get left behind.
Not home.
Get tools and tips for saving at feedthepig.org.
Welcome back to RMU Live. I'm Ben Kelkis with the latest in sports. The 2015-2016 NFL season came to a close last night in Santa Clara, California, with Super Bowl 50, a game featuring plenty of big names in the NFL and the fated showdown between Cam Newton and Peyton Manning. The two quarterbacks have been all the talk the past few weeks for Newton's flair and Manning's imminent retirement, but the two would have the chance to let their play do the talking on Sunday night. The Broncos would start the scoring off with 10 points in the first quarter, coming from a Brandon McCannis field goal and a Malik Jackson fumble recovery for a touchdown. Denver's defense was all over Carolina, holding them scoreless in the first frame, but the Panthers would not back down so soon. Newton got things going in the second quarter, going 75 yards in 9 plays, setting up Stewart to punch it home for a 1-yard run, and the Panthers got into the game. Things would be slow for Carolina for the rest of the game, being held scoreless until a fourth quarter field goal as the Broncos slowly extended their lead with field goals of their own. But it all came down to the closing 5 minutes with the score at 10-16, the Broncos with 4.5 to play. Cam Newton started with the ball on his 24-yard line and a chance to truly shine. But the Broncos defense, however, would not be bested, holding Carolina to a 1-yard run and putting the Panthers back on their heels for 4th and 9. This is where the Broncos would be the ones to pounce. Von Miller strips the ball from Newton, and it would be recovered on the Carolina 9-yard line, setting up C.J. Anderson for the touchdown run and Manning for the 2-point conversion throw. That would be all she wrote for the Panthers, and Von Miller walked away with 2.5 sacks and the Super Bowl MVP, while Cam Newton finished at 18 for 24 and 265 yards. But Peyton Manning, who also finished with unimpressive stats, is who we will have our eyes on in the coming days, with the prospect of retirement still on the table. Here's what Manning had to say about whether or not he would be retiring after this season.
Not making an emotional decision one way or the other. And so I thought that was good advice to kind of let this sink in. It's been an emotional week, emotional night, and the night's just beginning. I look forward to celebrating with my friends and family, and I think I'll take some time after that, and like I said, I'm going to kind of enjoy the night, take it one step at a time.
Things are still uncertain for Manning, whose second Super Bowl championship ties him with his brother Eli, solidifying his stat advantage over the younger quarterback. If he retires or decides to stay, Peyton Manning has certainly had a successful career. Well, in other sports news, the Pens proved that it was a bad weekend to be a Panther Saturday night down in Florida. The Penguins came back after being down 1-0 most of the game with a pair of third-period goals from Letang and Crosby, each having assist on the other's goal. Letang would come back into play in overtime, netting his second goal of the night with just under 2 minutes into the extra frame. Crosby and the Pens are getting themselves back on track in the latter half of this season, but perhaps the Saturday Panthers loss was a bad omen for Carolina. That's all the time we have for sports. What's the weather looking like this week, Eddie?
Thank you so much, Ben. I did actually watch the Super Bowl, which is cool. If you know me, it's weird that I watch a sport event. It was exciting, but you know what was even more exciting? The weather over the weekend. We saw some 50, 60-degree temperatures, and that's just fantastic, you know? But unfortunately, those 50, 60-degree temperatures, those very unseasonably warm temperatures, are a thing of the past. Right now it is 41 degrees outside. Today we'll probably have a high around 50, but we're not going to be anywhere near that the rest of the week. Now going to tomorrow, no snow probably, but 36 degrees, some rain. It's not going to be beautiful out, unfortunately, but not too bad. Now moving into the 5-day, this is when it gets a little less attractive. We have 28 and 13 as your high on Wednesday. On Thursday, 22 and 6 degrees, 27 and 11, and then Friday, look at that. Oh, there's a whole bunch of snow. Not ideal. And then moving into the weekend, we have 19 degrees, cloudy with a -2 degree temperature. Saturday is the first time we might hit a -degree in this entire year so far. Sunday, 20 and 10. Still cloudy, a little bit of a chance of snow. I think it's pretty safe to say, unfortunately, winter is coming, folks. Delaney and Hannah, back to you.
All right, well, Eddie, that is quite unfortunate, but we do have an update on the breaking news situation. The SWAT team did deploy gas into the home, but found that the shooter was not inside and is still at large. So that's all that we have for this afternoon.
Yeah, we'll see you next time.
Bye.